Hey guys, I'm Justin with Legato Financial Group. Our firm is passionate about helping educate consumers, which is why we're powering the Gaining Interest podcast. The podcast of quick conversations with industry experts on topics that you want to know about, from sports to dining to healthcare and automotive, and really everything in between. It's hosted by one of the greatest local personalities that I've met, that's John Ramsey.
I'll tell you why I love this podcast, because it's all about community. We used to call it water cooler talk, and that no longer exists. But if it's interesting to you, it's interesting to us. We encourage you to tell your friends. As Justin mentioned, we're going to talk about everything under the sun. We will be gaining interest, and we appreciate you watching. When you think about points of pride for the city of Louisville, one of them would certainly be the Brown Hotel. Now, whether it's a staycation or perhaps a holiday brunch, or perhaps you had a recommendation for a friend of yours for the Kentucky Derby, the Brown Hotel is the answer. But let's delve a little deeper here. Mark Salmon is with us. He is the Director of Human Resources and the official Brown Hotel historian. Wow, that's an odd combo. Mark, welcome in.
My pleasure.
I'm so glad that you're here, because the Brown Hotel, and I mean this as a compliment, when I walk in there, there is something about this Gilded Age feel that I feel entitled and a little bit more important. You know, there is that vibe there. Talk a little bit about that, if you would, Mark.
Absolutely. What people see right away is the preservation, the fact that everything's original. The marble, the hand-painted plaster relief ceiling on the second floor, which at one point was renovated just like a church in Italy with people on their backs with little tiny brushes. The hand-painted plaster relief ceiling is all original colors. It was restored to its original color palette. All of the chandeliers are original. The brasswork around the front desk, that's all original. So people get that great 1920s feel when they walk into the hotel.
Yeah, and this show, this Gaining Interest podcast, that's what it's about. It's about things that are interesting. And we thank Legato Financial Group, by the way, for fueling this. But I think when I think of the Brown Hotel, what is interesting is that history that you speak of and that you know about. That the Brown Hotel has certainly seen Louisville evolve, hasn't it?
It really has. You know, we've been there on Louisville's Magic Corner for going on 101 years this year. We opened on October 25th, 1923.
1923. So original owners. Now, when I think of the Browns, I always think of, Brown Foreman, that kind of, this is a different Brown, right?
Yeah, common misconception. We were founded by James Graham Brown. Mr. Brown was a millionaire in the lumber business, real estate developer, and a huge philanthropist. And there's a great story about why the hotel opened. Back in Mr. Brown's day, here we are during Prohibition. Occasionally he would be out a little bit late playing some poker with some of his cronies. And one morning he walked over to the Seelbach Hotel, located right there on 4th Street, walked in, and the bellman working at the time gave him the bum's rush. They didn't let him in the hotel. Well, Mr. Brown was furious. He owned this piece of property. Sitting there at the time was a mansion, because Broadway at that time, there were still some mansions. It was kind of where old Louisville sort of ended. And it was the home of Theodore Solger, who was a confectioner. He had his confectionery store in his mansion there. Well, Mr. Brown took this piece of property that he already owned, raised that building, and built the hotel in 10 months at a cost of just under $4 million. There was an incentive for the construction crew. They got a trip to Cuba for finishing on time.
Whoa. So is it safe to say that this was I don't know, for lack of a better term, a grudge purchase, and that he said, hey, you don't allow me into my hotel, I'm going to open one and compete with you?
Absolutely. And 100 years later, they're still here, we're still here, which is also great for the city of Louisville to have two great historic luxury hotels.
Yeah, and Mr. Brown, I want to brush that off, because J. Graham Brown Foundation, there's a foundation that you mentioned the fact that he was philanthropic while still alive, and his legacy is all about philanthropy, right?
That's correct. Mr. Brown passed away in 1969. During his lifetime, he had several core principles he believed in. Never took a business partner, never took a small loan, never got married, and never took a vacation. Thankfully, we've softened on the vacation policy over the years. You know.
Yeah, rules to live by, folks. I don't know about how many of those would
Those
still
rules
apply,
apply.
but certainly it's a great recipe for success. It worked for him rather well.
It did. So when he passed away, having no heirs, the bulk of his estate went to a charitable trust that still bears his name. Now, during his lifetime, Mr. Brown was often known as Louisville's invisible benefactor because many of his donations were anonymous. In 1964, he pledged the original $1.5 million to fund the establishment of the Louisville Zoo. He also was responsible for his foundation and himself responsible for the Kentucky Derby Museum. Nice tie-in there. A lot of our guests visit the Kentucky Derby Museum. And the first thing you see when you enter the Kentucky Derby Museum is a tribute to our Mr. Brown.
Wow. So it's tough to really describe, and of course we'll throw some pictures up of the beauty of the Brown Hotel, but talk a little bit, if you would, Mark, about the amenities that are available there, because certainly there's something for everyone, but you still have that feel of, I don't know, like I said, a royalty kind of feel when you're walking through the lobby of the Brown Hotel.
Absolutely. You know, the things that we do every day, we have 24-hour airport shuttle service, 24-hour valet parking. We have two of the finest restaurants in Louisville. Actually, both our restaurants, and we'll talk about our restaurants in a while, are on the top 10 in TripAdvisor.com out of 1,400 restaurants in Louisville. It's home of the legendary Hot Brown, and I'm sure we'll talk about that after a while.
Sure.
People get to see that grandeur of the building. From a services standpoint, we do in-room dining, of course, and just every fine service you'd expect in a luxury hotel.
Well, let's go straight to the restaurants because we consider ourselves, you know, a foodie town. We talk about that a lot, and I do think we have some of the finest restaurants in the country. And you mentioned 2 of the top 10 exist in the Brown Hotel. So if you would detail those a little bit, Mark.
Absolutely. We have J. Graham's Cafe, which is located on the first floor of the hotel, which is where we serve breakfast and lunch 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And what's really special about J. Graham's Cafe is on weekends, we do brunch. We do these large brunch displays. It's really our chance for our pastry chef to go out there and do that extra stuff that she loves to do. We have a very talented pastry chef. Unfortunately for me, I get to be the taster a lot of the time, which, you know, not great for my waistline, but...
No, that's fortunate for you.
That is fortunate for me. It's a perk of my position. But we do these incredible brunch displays on the weekends. We have an omelet station, and we have the omelet guy of omelet guys. Johnny will make anybody an amazing omelet. It's kind of things that people expect in a great hotel that maybe they don't see everywhere anymore.
Yeah.
Then in the evening hours, we have our lobby bar and grill on the second floor of the hotel, and our fine dining room, the English Grill, which is all part of the same restaurant. In our lobby, we feature a list of 185 bourbons, another 40 or so Kentucky whiskeys. Our bartenders are expert bourbonologists. You know, as bourbon tourism is skyrocketing, we're the place to go to try a nice little flight of some of the finest bourbons, and you know, our bartenders ask the right questions, find out what people are really looking for, and of course, I would be remiss without talking about our world famous dish.
Okay, now before we talk about that dish, you said something there that caught my ear. Okay, I've heard the word bourbonism used because Mayor Fisher, our former mayor, used that a lot and said he kind of created bourbonism. Bourbonologist? Okay, help me out with that one, Mark. So just someone who knows how to mix a million drinks with bourbon, is that what a bourbonologist is?
It's the person that knows how to ask the right questions to find the right bourbon for you.
Okay, very well said. Okay. Now, I always like asking folks, we've had people from the Belle of Louisville on here, and we had the gentleman who started up 21C, Mr. Steve Wilson, and
Sure.
The gentleman who started Michter, just speaking of bourbon, and there's always some trivia or something interesting behind it. There's a lot of things interesting about the Brown Hotel, and you mentioned one, okay, the Hot Brown. Okay, was it actually created there? Did you guys perfect it, or both?
We created it, and hence the name. Back in the early 1920s, we hosted dinner dances till the wee hours of the morning, as we say. And the guests, when the band would go on break, would descend upon the restaurant looking for a bite to eat. At that time, the common dish to order late at night was ham and eggs. Our original chef, Fred Schmidt, got tired of serving the same old ham and eggs. So he created this hot open-faced turkey sandwich with this wonderful Mornay sauce on top, 2 slices of bacon, a little Roma tomato to add a little acidity to the dish, paprika and parsley to garnish. It's 7 ounces of hand-carved turkey breast, and created this dish, and it instantly became a hit. We have been serving it consecutively since 1926. Same menu, same recipe. Every time we hire a chef there, the first thing we tell them is, you can change anything on the menu,
But
don't mess with the hot brown.
don't touch the hot brown.
Don't mess with the hot
And there's something about being in the Brown Hotel that it just tastes a little bit better. Obviously,
agree.
you have the recipe down pat. But it's funny, when I have out-of-town guests, and a lot of folks who are watching Gaining Interest now may agree, they ask for it. They say, where can I go to get a hot brown? Well, let's go to where it originated. Let's go to the Brown Hotel. Wow, that's pretty cool. The seasoning, would you say paprika and what was that?
A little paprika and parsley. Pinch of ground nutmeg is the secret to the sauce. The real secret to the sauce is we're going to make a roux. We're going to have butter, flour, heavy cream, Pecorino Romano cheese. The heavy cream makes all the difference in the world.
Okay, yes,
It really makes
richness.
it a nice rich sauce. Luckily in Kentucky we don't have to put calories on the menu. But,
Yeah, that one might be a little dangerous. It's okay.
When that law comes around, we might have some shocked faces. We do also serve a petite version for those wishing to do something smaller.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the petite version is 5 ounces of turkey breast. The original one is 7 ounces of hand-carved turkey breast. That's a difference too. Look, we're roasting these turkeys every afternoon and slicing them to the specifications. So it's not like sometimes places do more like deli meat. You know, we're doing hand-carved turkey breasts that we are carving in-house, and really only the same person makes the sauce. We have a saucier, so Carla is busy making this sauce 5 days a week. So when you have one, the sauce is consistent: breakfast, lunch, dinner, late night.
Wow, so saucier and bourbonologist,
Saucier,
all there at the Brown
bourbonologist.
Hotel. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all there. So, but you have to admit, I think you'd agree with me, Mark. If you're going to cheat, you talked about the calories. If you're going to cheat on your diet, this one might be the one you want to pick, right?
Absolutely.
All right, I want to talk about some of the guests you've had with that rich history. And you think about Derby, and I think the Brown Hotel is, for those who really love Louisville or want that Southern feel, or like I said, that Gilded Age feel of the Kentucky Derby, you're going to get it at the Brown Hotel. So tell me about some of your guests and maybe the reviews that you received, Mark.
Absolutely. Well, the first guest we ever had was a celebrity, David Lloyd George, former Prime Minister of Great Britain, World War I Prime Minister of Great Britain, happened to be traveling through Louisville, saw the signs, saw the flags, insisted on being the first person to sign our guest book.
Wow,
So,
that's historic, right? Do you still have that guest book?
We do not still have the guest book, but we have a great picture of it in our lobby, which is famous for the aloof-looking bellman standing with his arms folded right there in the picture. So a note of caution to all our current staff, don't let that be you.
Yeah, and the fact that you are in close proximity to some great venues.
Absolutely.
I mean, of course, the Palace Theater is right next door, but the Yum, all of the nice, they're all close. So I would think you'd have a number of celebrities even today who still check into the Brown Hotel.
We do, based on the experience of our staff and the discretion we can offer. We get a lot of celebrity traffic.
Can't really say.
I could say former ones.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. In the time I've been there, we've had 3 U.S. presidents. We've had the entire Federal Reserve Board. During the Ryder Cup, we had both the European team and the American team staying with us on separate floors.
Wow.
They didn't commingle.
If I remember correctly, too, and you all had a special room because when Muhammad Ali was alive, you had the Ali room, and I remember going to see him a lot there. Before he built a home here, we'd go up there.
It's still our finest suite. It was dedicated by the greatest himself in 2001 at the premiere of the film Ali, starring Will Smith.
I went to that with him, yeah, so I spent some time in there, yeah.
Did he ever tell you why I love the Brown Hotel so much?
No, what was it? Did he say?
Central High School, prom.
Oh, he went to prom. I know he went to Central, so prom was at the Brown. Oh, interesting.
He was actually on the prom committee, and they had a hard time finding a venue based on their budget.
Wow.
And Mr. Brown at the time insisted that they have their prom in the Crystal Ballroom. From that point on, always a tremendous fan of ours.
Wow, that's an incredible story. So there's so much to the Brown Hotel, and something maybe a little bit more recent, but always relevant, is that everyone is always looking for a backdrop that looks authentic. And I know in the movie Elizabethtown, the Brown Hotel was the choice. Talk a little bit about that. If I'm correct, Orlando Bloom, right?
Orlando Bloom, Kirsten Dunst. Cameron Crowe was the writer and director of the film. His father lived down by Fort Knox, was an Army veteran, lived down by Fort Knox. One night, Cameron Crowe was taking a red-eye flight to Louisville, happened to hop on the Brown Hotel airport shuttle with a crew from Southwest Airlines, got the idea for a movie about a guy coming to Louisville, having, on the worst day of his life, meeting a flight attendant and falling in love, wrote the treatment for the movie in his guest room that night. And then when the film was eventually made by Paramount Pictures, he insisted on it being filmed in the hotel. Now, the hotel rooms in the film are Hollywood because all of ours have 4 walls, and which at the time made it difficult to film movies. But we've had a number of movies made in the last year, and a big one coming up actually in a couple of weeks. So the Elizabethtown was filmed in the hotel and in the surrounding areas, but while all their filming for 6 weeks in the summer of 2004 was going on, the entire cast and crew stayed with us. So we had Susan Sarandon, Alec Baldwin was in the film, but it starred Orlando Bloom and Kirsten Dunst. And Orlando Bloom would walk his dog shirtless on 4th Street, and there would be screaming girls, and it was a fun time for all of us. If you look really closely in the lobby in the movie, you may see a familiar face. Oh, but you got to look really closely.
Okay.
My mother can't find me in the movie, but
you're in the movie. All right. Congratulations to you.
Briefly.
I'll have to get an autograph if you don't mind, Mark. I would appreciate that. It is. How do you articulate to people when they say, why? You mentioned the movies that are currently being shot, and then Elizabethtown and others. So what is it about it? I mean, to me, it's obvious. The beauty, you can't duplicate that in a studio. What do you attribute it to?
Atmosphere. You know, it's
the feel.
Yeah, it's about the atmosphere. It's about the feel. It's about, you know, when filmmakers love the atmosphere, the lighting. You know, I was meeting with a film director, and Louisville has a burgeoning movie scene coming on. I was meeting with a film director last week and have a walkthrough actually with their tech crew next week. And we talked about, as he started walking through the lobby, it's like when he saw the script and then saw the hotel and knew it took place in a hotel, it had to be this one. And as a matter of fact, what we had to do was find 2 different rooms with 2 different wallpaper because there's 2 different hotel scenes in his movie, and he's doing both of them at the Brown.
Wow, that speaks volumes to the beauty of your hotel. So you being the historian for the Brown Hotel, here on Gaining Interest, powered by Legato Financial Group, we want to know the inside scoop. So tell me about maybe the nuances. If someone were visiting your hotel or staying, I mentioned a staycation for folks here, and maybe someone who's from E-Town or Lexington, and they say, I want to really enjoy Louisville or go to a show, whatever that happens to be. What would you recommend them seeing? Or maybe you could tell us a little about a little corner or a little nook where, hey, this is pretty cool, you got to check it out. What would you tell them? Absolutely.
On the first floor of the hotel, right when you come in, now remember the lobby is on the 2nd floor, and the reason why the lobby's on the 2nd floor is when we were built back in 1923, Louisville had the electric streetcars. That ran past the hotel that you could see in our original pictures. The streetcars are always there. Well, our founder, Mr. Brown, he was a cantankerous fellow, hated the streetcars. He thought they were noisy. He didn't care for the streetcars at all. So he built the lobby on the 2nd floor to also give people a quieter place to talk, to meet, to have his restaurant. So he put the lobby on the 2nd floor. So right when people walk into the hotel, we have a historic alcove on the 1st floor where we have some great pictures of construction, and you can see horses and buggies hauling away the debris, and you can see how this incredible building was built in 10 months. We have some more artifacts. People donate stuff to us all the time. On the 2nd floor of the lobby, we have a lot of framed menus. People, when they find old menus, you know, in my job, people send us stuff all the time. And a couple months ago, a lady sent me a receipt that she found in a book. Her mom had passed away, and her mom was a tremendous collector of books. And in the family room there, the mom had walls of books, and the girl had always remembered this yellow receipt sitting in the book, and it was there her whole life, never knew what it was. When Mom passed away, she opened up the book, and the receipt was a receipt from the Brown Hotel from 1955 for $8.55. That was the room plus tax.
Wow.
And additional.
Can I get that deal?
Yeah, with receipt. We did a few deals around our 100th anniversary. So there's a lot of framed artifacts around the lobby of menus. It's great to see what we served for Christmas in 1930 or New Year's Eve 1929. What we served on VE Day. There's a VE Day menu there. So walking around the 2nd floor itself, people don't have to stay in the hotel to enjoy all of this. People can come in for a great cocktail. share a cheese plate and just kind of walk around the lobby. On the third floor of the hotel is where our Crystal Ballroom is, where there's been so many incredible galas over the years, and people can take pictures on the mezzanine. There's this one spot on our mezzanine where the archway is right there, and if people line up together and take a picture, this is where all the brides and grooms take their pictures, you can see the entire set of columns in the lobby, and that's what it's all about. Coming in, taking a great picture. Live piano music 7 nights a week.
Wow.
So come in, enjoy the piano music.
Yes.
Sue Ann Stone's been playing the piano with us for over 25 years. A lot of Louisvillians love to hear Sue Ann play. It's that atmosphere. Just people come in and enjoy the atmosphere.
I have enjoyed it often, and I highly recommend it. So I'm going to ask you to make your case. There are new hotels popping up all the time.
Sure.
And many of them have a generic look, but there's others that, hey, are modern, amenities, spas, et cetera. We go on and on. But I think there is a lot to be said for a hotel like the Brown Hotel, not trying to adjust what it does, its sweet spot. You got to keep the main thing. So talk a little bit about where you find, and it's not a niche, it's well known, where you find your audience, and what do you think their advantages of a Brown Hotel is over one of the more modern hotels?
Our sales managers talk about this all the time. People will say, I can go to this, this place that was just built last year. But what you don't get is the kind of service that we can provide and the kind of people we attract. That's my job, is to find great people, and we attract some really incredible staff. You got to have great people to attract great people, and we do. And the level of experience. Our front desk manager has been with us for 27 years. Our banquet director has over 30 years of industry experience. When you have people working for you, our general manager and I have both been there over 20 years. When you have those kind of people working for you that are that experienced and that knowledgeable, people can buy with confidence, knowing that their guests are going to have a great experience.
Yeah, people like you stay on board, and the staff that you mentioned, because not only do they believe in it, but they see happy, customers, clients, people coming in, using your hotel and enjoying it. And also that vibe that we talked about, it exists in people as well. It's very welcoming and warm, and I'm sure that's something that your people help. I mean, that doesn't hurt, does it?
It's hard to duplicate that. Yes. for other people, and we have to be the best version of ourselves. I mean, we're not going to start putting up neon anywhere.
No, please don't.
We're not going to start plastering over our ceiling. It's about that historic charm.
There is nothing like the holiday time. When you go into the Brown Hotel, it is an annual tradition for me and my family. We go there for your big, Thanksgiving brunch and your Christmas brunch. And the way it is decorated, my goodness, I don't even want to know about the expense. I just want to know the attention to detail. That's something you take pride in, isn't it?
Absolutely. Our team of elves starts on the Monday before Thanksgiving because a lot of people who come for our Thanksgiving brunch take their Christmas card picture every year at our two-story Christmas tree or in the lobby. So we have to be ready. So our team of elves starts every year on the Monday before Thanksgiving, decorating. It takes about 3 days to do it, working almost around the clock, and because we know that people are going to come back every year and want to see our decorations. And
Mark, what trends are you seeing in the hotel business? I mean, obviously you take great pride in what the Brown Hotel, and does it very well, what it does. But what are you seeing from other hotels? What are the new trends? Is some of what the Brown Hotel is doing and has been doing coming back?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you're going to see a lot of in the industry too is, as individual business travel is sort of waning a little bit due to Zoom conferencing, Microsoft Teams, PDF files. What you're seeing more of is social travel. Social travel came back really fast after the pandemic. People are out exploring the country, realizing what a great country this is to see things. Regionally, Louisville has become a tremendous attraction from the bourbon industry. So you're seeing hotels cater more towards packages, people coming for a weekend, buying a package that would include their valet parking, include dinner in the restaurant, maybe a breakfast. You're seeing a lot of groups and associations starting to come back. I think people are realizing that face-to-face contact is important. So you're starting to see the meeting business get better. We've just had a fabulous month of July. And once again, you're seeing locals come in too, and come downtown where people, when they went to see a show, used to, jump back on the expressway. Now you're seeing people stay.
Interesting. Obviously you're a historian for the Brown Hotel, but you also have to be an ambassador for the city of Louisville. When guests come in, they want to know, where do you direct them? Give me your pitch on Louisville when someone is saying, well, I'm thinking about making a trip to maybe Nashville or Cincinnati or wherever the city may be, and they say, make a pitch for Louisville. What would you tell them?
Well, it's about those great distillery tours.
That does stand out.
That really makes us stand out. We recommend that people book their distillery tours at least 3 weeks in advance because they're so popular. People can go over to Angel's Envy. They can go to Michter's Fort Nelson Distillery. They can go to the Evan Williams Bourbon Experience. Recommending that those distillery tours, that continues to be a great driver for Louisville. Of course, the Kentucky Derby Museum, and getting to experience the tie-in between racehorses and bourbon, which is the water. And talking about the Kentucky Derby and the other great experiences downtown, the Muhammad Ali Center, the Louisville Slugger Museum, the Kentucky Science Center. There's so much to see in downtown Louisville, and it's all relatively accessible. And in the world where everybody's doing Uber and Lyft, they can go out to some great restaurants. We want them in our restaurants first, of course.
Sure.
But then they can hop in an Uber and head over to Jack Fry's or a great restaurant here in Louisville, or the River House, and have a great experience. Go to Volare, and that also is great for that traffic.
Mark, with your resume and your experience, you could work anywhere in the country. I always like to say that Louisville's a great place to raise adults, and I believe that. With that being said, you've decided to make this your home. Obviously, you're very passionate. You have a great affinity for the Brown Hotel. What is the allure for you to our city?
I came here in 2002 with one small kid, and we came here we were living in the New York area, and my wife's mother kept sending us clippings about the Louisville brain drain, and that was back when she would cut articles out of the Courier-Journal and anonymously put them in envelopes and send them to us, and eventually we agreed and we came, and I thought I'd be here for about 3 years. And
looky here.
And look here, raised 2 kids here through JCPS, through sports here in Louisville. They both attended the University of Kentucky, and never been happier.
Wow. See, you say that with such sincerity. I think that's one thing we can all agree on. It's obvious to see when someone is authentic, and you are that, and I appreciate that, Mark.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, so how far out do we need to make a reservation for Derby or Christmas time or any of the big events in Louisville if you want a staycation and come to the Brown Hotel and experience it?
Certainly. Well, of course, anytime on our website. Going directly to the hotel's website is always a great idea. In terms of Derby, we usually are, right now, we are probably about 2/3 full for next year, but there's still opportunities to book for Derby right up until February, March. Wow. Of next year. For Christmas, we would definitely recommend at least 4 weeks in advance.
And partnering with the city of Louisville is important. You mentioned some venues and entities and experiences that people should have, and the distilleries, of course, standing out. But that being present in the community, the giving back, the philanthropy that existed with Mr. Brown, your original owner, still exists, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Louisville has a big heart, and it's also a city of refugees, and we have some great staff that have come to us that have found Louisville themselves. And, Louisville has a big heart, and we attract some great people.
You have a big heart, Mark.
Well, it's our pleasure.
Mr. Mark Salmon, once again, he is the Executive Director, or the Director of Human Resources, and the official historian of the Brown Hotel, and you heard it here on Gaining Interest, powered by Legato Financial Group. We'll see you next time.